Hey, everybody, welcome to my world. How's your world going? Wow, it's great to be back because I'll tell you what, I had a problem before Christmas and I ended up in the emergency room and I couldn't do the show and I couldn't do it again on New Year's Eve. Believe it or not, it was a difficult time. So it's great to be back. And I'll tell you what, we've got a guest tonight that'll be coming on shortly. And we're going to be talking about different things. And you can take a look at our Facebook page, My World, Live, Laugh, and Whatever, and see the topics that we're covering because we can't cover everything, but a lot of the topics that we're going to cover will be interesting, especially with the guest. So you want to stay tuned. But before we get going, we always have to do a disclaimer. So, nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, financial, or investment advice. Take what we say with a big grain of salt and always do your own research and due diligence. We're not responsible for and expressly disclaim all liability for damages of any kind arising out of use, reference to, or reliance on any information contained in this broadcast. Any persons or characters mentioned are, for the most part, fictional or as close to it as we can get. So sit back, relax, and chill out. Did you bring your favorite snacks? How about your favorite beverage? Are you chilling out? Well, that's what we want to do. So, tell your friends about our show. We're every Wednesday night live at 8 p.m., schedule permitting. And I have to say that because sometimes my schedule gets to the point where I can only do it on days that I'm available. And usually every Wednesday I am, except next Wednesday. I have another banquet I have to host. Yeah, food. Anyhow, wow. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Some of it's serious and some of it's funny. And we'll get into that. But before we do, I always have to talk about Trim Radio Network because if I didn't talk about trimradio.com, the powers that be would be pretty angry with me. And I want to make sure that they're happy because these guys are great. The Trim Radio Network has been in existence for a while, and what we've been doing is trying to cut out the bull and serve the truth. Except on this show, we kind of joke around a little bit, but every other show is always cutting the bull and serving the truth. And that's what we want to do. But we also have a deal where we have a creator studio and you can have your own show. You can pitch your own show. You can do a live stream. And all you have to do is contact us. And by that, all you have to do is hit the red button over here on the right-hand side. Click on that, put in your name, your phone number, say, I want to know more about doing my own show. How do I do it? What equipment do I need? And then find the little thing here that says send message. And you do that, somebody will be right in touch with you. Okay. It's easy to do because I'll tell you what, we use StreamYard. It's very easy to use. And if you can hit buttons like I attempt to do sometimes, you can do your own show. It's very easy to do. Matter of fact, I'm using a Nexego 4K camera and microphone, and that's it, plus the computer. And it works out really well. And all I have to do, if I want to, I've got a studio mic that I can exchange for that and take up more space on my desk. How's that? Well, anyhow, guys, you can do your own show here. Just contact us, okay? And we'll show you how to do it. Matter of fact, we've got 3 new shows coming up, and one of them is going to be with Dora, and she'll be doing a show. And Peter Kling will be doing a show. And we have one other one that I think is in the works for maybe next month. So stay tuned. And if you want to do your own show, let us know. We'll gladly put you into our family. Okay. Wow. Here's the Brain Trust. We've got Michael Bejas, who's the founder and CEO. He's the originator of the network. We have Rascala Stefan. And he's the chief operating officer, and he's responsible for day-to-day operational management and the networking. He's a computer guru. He knows the inside outs of all different types of computers and how they work, and he does all the magic. He's a really good guy, trust me. And then we have me. I guess I'm the chief relationship officer responsible for building and maintaining the foundational trust and goodwill necessary for long-term success. Well, I hope we have long-term success, and I hope I'm friendly enough. Anyhow, that's what I do. I still haven't figured it out yet. And then we have Victoria Smith, the Chief Marketing Officer, and she's responsible for all marketing activities, brand development, audience growth, and creator acquisition strategies. That's a mouthful. But I'll tell you what, she's excellent. And if you need any marketing advice, check with Victoria. She is fantastic. She does a fantastic job. Wow, what do we have going on as far as shows, though? Wow, we have Money and Change every Sunday at 7 p.m. And unless it's a concert season or special scheduling cancels me out for that Sunday, we have a rerun scheduled. So you have to go to our Money and Change / financially prepped page on Facebook. And you'll be given notice a couple of days in advance of that happening. We have a lot of good shows in the background as far as how money is saved, spent, things to look out for. It's a good show. Check it out. We also have Life Walk with Christ God, and that's with Michael Bejas. That's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. We have My World, Live, Laugh, and Whatever, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And then we have the Natural Marketer podcast on Thursdays. And you notice these all say next day in the vault. Well, we do have a storage vault, and you can go to the archives and replay the shows. Now, after this show is over with, I will post the link on YouTube or Rumble to our Facebook page. And I do that with Money and Change too. Also, we have Off Grid College Football Top 25 with Michael Bejas and friends. We also have the Positude podcast every Friday at 8 p.m. We have Adventure Awaits Around the Bend Saturdays at 1 p.m. And we have Ranch It Up with Tigger and Beck at 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. Plus, we have the Red Pill Reality Show. And that's with Rascal Stefan. It's a great, great show. It's on from 9 o'clock until midnight. Boy, he can talk a lot for a 3-hour show. I can't. But anyhow, he has a fantastic show. I've been on it a couple of times, believe it or not. And it's great. And he has some interesting guests. He has some interesting topics every Saturday. So you want to check him out. Also, we have Let's Talk About It with Dora. And she's coming up here probably in another couple of weeks. And she will be posted. And then we also have Revelation with Peter Kling. And he will be on, I believe, on Saturdays or Sundays. I forget which. It is going to be introduced. Actually, those two shows will be introduced very shortly. And Peter Kling, I've known Peter for quite a while. I would say maybe 10 years or so. And he's fantastic. He's great about biblical studies. And he's very good at what he does. And also, we've got other shows that are in the works, and they will be posted. But it's easy to join us. Like I said, all you have to do is hit the red button here. Put your name, your phone number, and I want to know more. Fill it out. I want to do my own show. Let us know on that, okay? Wow. How can you help us? Because we need your help. And how we do that is this. Buy the merchandise, and you can shop in our shopping section or collectibles. You can shop there. You can donate to keep us on the air, or You can advertise. And we have very good rates at advertising. So just contact the trimradio.com crew and we'll get with you as far as, advertising your show, advertising your business, advertising your club, whatever. We will do your advertising for you. And if you need suggestions, Victoria Smith will help you out there. Wow, what else is going on? Oh, the Facebook page. Oh, yes. Well, it's not moving. It is not behaving. Well, I'll just make it behave. How's that? Well, this is our page on Facebook. That's what it looks like, and all of our group members. And if you want to join, let me know. Just send me an email at trimradio.com and we'll get you in the group. It's very easy to do. But we do have our own page. And what I'm doing is under the comment section, if you click on comments, you will see we're going to be talking a little bit about COVID deaths and lawsuits. Your clapback game has strong before these Thanksgiving gatherings. This is kind of like a Southern humor. We've got California welfare worker stole $40,000 in benefits. And we've got other links here, and we're going to be talking about federal court allows COVID-19 vaccine recommendation and other things. But I'm going to post them here, just like I do in Money and Change, because we've got all the information there. Wow, what else is going on here? Oh, yes, I think I have a weather warning. Oh, yes. Anyhow, just to keep people informed, we may be having some bad weather here in Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, and so forth, right there on the map. And that's from the Southwest Ohio Weather Masters. Great people. I'm a part of that group. I'm not patting myself on the back because I don't know that much about weather. But when I got introduced to this group, I thought it was very interesting. So we know what's going on. Okay, we're looking for bad weather coming up probably Saturday, Sunday, Monday, possibly Tuesday. So anyhow, just a heads up. Be prepared. Wow, what else is going on? Oh, hey, I got to say hi to Rusty Duck's Custom Pens and Blanks because here's a pen that he's done, and he's done a lot. He's on Facebook, Rusty Duck's Custom Pens and Blanks. Okay, does an excellent job with these pens. And you give him the artwork, or he works with you to develop the artwork, and then he does the pens on a cross pen platform. That's Rusty Duck's Custom Pens and Blanks. Wow, what else is going on? Oh, yeah, I forgot. In Germany, they had a terrorist attack, and I'm going to put terrorist in quotes. They think they know who did it. Hit a power station. And when they did that, a lot of people were without power in Berlin. Well, the power was finally restored today after about 4 days of being without any power. And you can see it here on the screen, a dark building. Um, people just standing outside, no power, no heat, and probably no electricity to run battery lights to charge batteries or whatever. And I always tell people about being prepared. And people go, yeah, 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 I understand it. I always tell people pay down your debt, put some money aside, buy some long-term food, canned goods, freeze dried, that type of stuff. Make sure that you can basically, don't want to say preserve water, but you want to be able to filter it, purify it, and store it. At least have 3 gallons per person per day. And that's the minimum. Make sure you have those blue tarps for your roof. Make sure you have batteries for your flashlights. And I always plug these things, and people always say, well, why do you do that? Because it's a necessity. These are GMRS radios. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to try. I don't know if you can see it with this background, but I'm going to do this. I'll just put this up there and tell you about the GMRS radios. Here it is, right there. This is an Ocean 935G Plus with a Nagoya 771 antenna. It's a 771G antenna. Hey, this radio, I can go 35 miles and I can talk to people in Dayton, Ohio. I can get on a repeater and I can talk to people out as far as 90 miles. I can have my family use these radios for communication in an emergency situation. You don't have to have a test. Just $35 gets you a license for 10 years. And I'll tell you what, I'm on this thing usually 3 or 4 times a week, testing it out, seeing how far I can get out. And I'll tell you what, I've met a lot of fun people all the way from here down to Cincinnati and all the way over into Indiana and Eastern Ohio, just with this radio. It's a great little hobby and it's great in an emergency. So that's why I want you to do some prepping, okay? Bad weather, you're going to have that situation happen. So you want to be covered. Wow, what else is going on? Just heads up, there's a lot of stuff going on. And right now, who knows? Well, we're back to Germany again. The power went out and hopefully they were prepared. And if not, how do you prepare for cold weather? Do you have extra blankets? Do you have maybe a kerosene heater? Do you have an alternative stove? Do you have propane? What do? Do you have a battery situation like a solar battery unit? Things to consider, especially in cold weather, because when stuff happens when it's cold, that's one thing. When it's hot, it's another. You can survive the heat, but you would have a difficult time surviving the cold. Okay, so just a heads up there. Wow. Lately in the news, we've had things about welfare fraud or child care fraud, all kinds of different things. And it's out there. And I started to look at things and I started to think, well, a significant portion of federal spending, how much is it as far as outlays out of our taxes that we pay for welfare activity? And I did this before the show and I thought, okay, let's just see how much it is. And according to the AI overview, and it could be off a little bit, but it says about 20% of total outlays or a quarter of tax revenue goes towards various welfare and economic security programs like food, housing, health aid, though estimates vary based on, definitions. And for average taxpayer, this translates to hundreds or thousands of dollars annually, with some analysis suggesting programs like food stamps, which is SNAP, and tax credits, EITC or CTC, consume a few percent of income taxes, while broader welfare spending takes much larger slices, often exceeding defense and other major categories. And, if you click on the expansion here, it says total federal welfare spending, which is around 1.2 to 1.6 trillion dollars annually in recent years, covering over 80 programs. And the share of federal budget is roughly about 20% of the total federal spending, or a quarter of tax revenue. And the special programs, food assistance, which would be SNAP, about 3 to 6% of personal income tax revenue, depending on the year and calculation. And then, of course, tax credits and the broader welfare, which some sources claim means tested welfare, consumes over 70% of unobligated general revenue, dwarfing Social Security, Medicare, and defense combined, according to Representative Jody Arrington. And I just got that information. I thought, boy, that's interesting. And we have a tendency to wonder where our tax dollars are going. We're going to be paying taxes on last year's income, and if you haven't started on your taxes, you better start. And we may get some benefits, or we may not. We may actually be paying more. So be prepared and make sure that your figures are accurate and you've taken all the deductions you can legally take. And I'm saying legally take. Okay. Wow. But where do our tax dollars go? And 20% for welfare programs. And lately we've been hearing all kinds of things about, well, things like fraud. And that fraud's been out there. And my guest isn't here yet, I don't think. I don't think she's here yet. Oh my goodness, what's going on? I'm usually right on time with the guest, and she is not here. I'm going to try something. I'm going to get a hold of her. If you just hang on just a second, I think I can bring her in. Let's see if she's ready. I'll send her another invite here. But we have all that going on, and you wonder where your money's going. Our taxes are going up and up and up, but who's paying out all that money? How much? Hey, there she is. Well, I'm going to add her. I'm going to add her into the studio here in just a second. Where's our tax money going for all of these welfare benefits? And then when we have fraud, somebody cheating the system, how long has it been going on, and how much money have we been putting into the system or paying out? And where's it going? Is it going out of the country and then coming back to politicians' pockets? Is it just going out of the country to fund other countries? That's some of the stuff that we're wondering about. And my guest tonight, she's been on the show before. She's a whiz kid. She knows her stuff. And I'll tell you what, here's Valerie. And I really appreciate Val coming on. And we've got a lot of stuff to kind of talk about here. Let's see if we can get Val in there.
You got me?
There you go.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
Whoop.
Tell people I'm vertical and breathing, and I like to keep it that way.
Well, I'm glad you are. I wasn't so sure about that myself last week, but I'm back on my feet too. So good stuff.
Well, it's good. The flu is going around.
Bad.
I mean, it is going. I was in the emergency room, and it was 2 days before Christmas, and I had something which I think I contracted C. diff. That's Clostridium difficile. And we weren't quite sure. And they never tested for it in the hospital, which they should have. They tested for everything else.
And that's very serious. Like it's contagious and it's very serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, after getting through that and then having to go through New Year's Eve, I think it's been kicked for the most part. But anyhow, hospitals around Christmas time and New Year's. Yeah, I know. And the flu was going around, and it was all over. And as soon as I got home,
it still is. And I was hospitalized I wasn't hospitalized. I went into the ER last Friday myself. I don't normally get to that point from influenza, but that's the gift that I received for Christmas this year was influenza. I did not test. It doesn't matter whether it's A, B, or COVID. It all of the symptoms, all of the treatments are still the same, and it's time unless you acquire a secondary infection, you have difficulty breathing, blood pressure becomes unmanageable, or you are struggling to wake up and you end up with delirium, then you need to seek some medical attention. And I was pushing the envelope um, on that delirium, and found myself in the emergency room saying, "White flag, man, I got to do something here." And I had the traditional upper respiratory influenza, uh,
Mm-hmm.
with respiratory stuff, cough, junky nose, um, you know, fever, body aches. The body aches were rough, um, but I slept. I slept a lot. I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking enough. I was only drinking water. I wasn't getting electrolytes, and ended up with some IV fluids to address the magnesium, potassium, and the carbon
Uh-huh.
dioxide that were abnormally low. So for carbon dioxide to go low was pretty significant. But yeah, so went in there and got a little bit of a fluid push last week.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't get any fluids or anything, and I was actually getting dehydrated. They didn't do anything. But what I ended up doing,
What hospital did you go to?
I won't mention the hospital.
Well,
You
I
know which one.
listen, I will tell you that I actually walked out of one for violating my HIPAA rights and told them that I was leaving because of that, and went to the other one that I would not normally go to. And I will tell you that the second facility I went to, I had exceptional care and was actually um, quite impressed.
It was probably 3 miles south, wasn't it?
No, the first one that I went to was the one 3 miles south,
Oh.
and they violated my HIPAA rights by they gave my name without me giving them my name. And then they said my date of birth fully out loud for the entire waiting room to hear while the nurse was playing on her cell phone.
Oh, wow.
So I let her know that that was not acceptable. And as I was trying to leave, and you're familiar with that waiting area and how large it is, I walked to
Hmm.
the reception desk in front of the front doors and asked for a business card for their business manager for their emergency department, because I felt like this nurse needed to be reported. She is literally screaming at me from all the way across that room that
Ooh.
I'm more than welcome to go to another facility, that she never violated my HIPAA rights. She can say that stuff all day long and I can get over myself.
You know, it's hard to find a perfect hospital, isn't it?
Well, I will tell you that this has happened more than once recently with them. And yes, it's hard to find a perfect hospital, but more importantly, I think that their healthcare system might be in trouble. And I don't say that lightly. It very much concerns me. It's always been my preferred medical facility, but I'm noticing some things that tell me that they're financially in trouble. Ordering things that would not be necessary.
Ooh.
Um, Ordering extra staff that's not necessary. Threatening if you leave AMA. Um, they did that to my husband in the last year, and all for an emergency MRI that was so emergent that it was 10 hours later he was finally getting it. And that's because I said, if this is such an emergency, why are we waiting to get it? And why did we call in a speech therapist to do a swallow study when you've already given him his pills twice?
Well, I ended up getting overdosed.
They well see, and this is a big concern. They almost overdosed my husband too. And
Hmm.
so, you have to be your own best advocate in the healthcare field. I mean, you have to ask the hard questions. You have to know what's going on, and you have to not be afraid to speak up and say, "Hold on. What are you doing here?" I'm currently caregiving for 4 adults plus myself.
Wow.
It's a lot. And I spent a lot of time between both hospital systems. So going to one for myself was a challenge in and of itself, because I was like, I just don't want to go, right? But I went. I'm glad I did. I was pleasantly surprised by the second facility, the quality of the care, um, absolutely exceptional, and the attentiveness to detail in protecting one's privacy. And we really all have a right to privacy, and that needs to be addressed appropriately on a regular. Um, it was really, it made my heart happy because I knew that I was in good hands, and I had professionals that were listening, and they were
Well, you
busy.
were lucky. You were lucky you had professionals.
I mean,
I think when my doctor walked into the one hospital, I heard ducks.
I'm not going to
You know
tell
when
you
they
that I've
when they
been there.
start going quack, 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 quack. Huh?
I've I've been in both facility. I've been in both those medical facilities multiple times in the last several months because of both my mother and my mother-in-law, and and my mother-in-law being inpatient at the one facility. I loved it when the medical doctor and I were having words, and I said, "Will you please check the magnesium level? Her body is telling the story." And he refused. And the following day, she's now an AFib. Well, she's an AFib because you stripped her of her magnesium and potassium. And here we are. And now you've cost us not only treatment for AFib, but now you've cost us another doctor, plus more medicine, plus more time in the hospital. And that's all dollars. It's dollars and cents on the business side. It's not
Yeah,
acceptable.
it is. And I'll tell you what, speaking of dollars and cents,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I was going to talk about tonight, if I can get back to it. Oops, I lost my buttons here. What happened? Good grief. I got to hit a share on here, and somehow I clicked the wrong button again. Well, anyhow, guys, um, this
Technological
shows.
challenge there, aren't you, Stu?
Oh, I have so much going on the screen, and I was just talking about some of the stuff that was going on, and I was talking about the power outage over in Germany,
Uh-huh.
and they just got their power back today. They have been out of power with 4 days, and I was talking about GMRS radios and the importance of communication and making sure you have plenty of blankets and stuff for when the power goes out, and it could happen here.
Oh, 100%. It will. It's not can, it will. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
when, not if.
So then after that, and you hadn't come in yet, I was talking about, where our tax dollars go for, welfare. And it was around 20% according to AI. And it can always be off a little bit. But I was going to get into this. There's been a lot of fraud out there, not only in Minnesota, but other states. And today, HHS freezes child care and family assistance grants in 5 states for fraud concerns. And a lot of people are playing the system according to what I'm seeing. And it said the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services today froze access to certain federal child care and family assistance funds from California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York, following serious concerns about widespread fraud and misuse of taxpayer dollars. And I know a lot of this stuff is coming out of um, some of the scandal that's going on up in Minnesota. And then some people are saying, well, there's plenty of it in Ohio too. Well, they haven't proved it yet, but eventually that's going to happen. And of course, there's going to be fraud all across the
It's all across
spectrum.
America, let's be real. It's
That's right.
very
And
easy to utilize government dollars through government agencies as a front. Very, very easy. And honestly, you know, um, our welfare system is very broken, and it has been very broken for a very long time. While it was well intentioned when it was established, it has become a staple rather than rather than an emergency assistance as it was intended. And the unfortunate part there is that people have learned how to maneuver around it to defraud the system. Well, we can just tell them we have X number of kids that are below the poverty level or of this particular population in the community. They're never going to know because, we don't have to give all the demographics. We only have to say that we have this much, and or we have this many kids on our roster, but yet only this many kids show up. And we don't hold people accountable. There is not an ongoing audit, as there should be, of these government dollars. But it goes well beyond the child development stuff. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, child care in America is in a sad state of affairs, regardless of what you want to say about any of it. The
You're
fraud or
right.
no fraud, the fact that two parents have to work in this country to be able to pay the rent or the mortgage and the utilities and put food on the table leaves you with a quandary of how do the children get taken care of. We have a crisis in this country. We don't have enough grandparents and aunts and uncles that are helping to raise children today. Families are very fractured, and this all started. This goes back historically. 1935 is when Social Security was established for the Widow and Children's Fund, and that was good intention for the blue collar workers. They would die, dad would die, and it left the wife and the kids with nobody other than their extended family, and extended families were aging, and they were not able to help foot the bill for the mom and the kids. So it was well intentioned, it was a good thing. But then from there, we then established the food stamp program to assist with food subsidies during World War II, right?
Right.
It wasn't called food stamps then, but it was government commodities. That's what it was known as. And it was actually known as government commodities into the early 90s. So that's a very interesting 50-year dynamic, really. And it was excess food that was produced. It was cheap food, Velveeta cheese being one of those cheap foods, mass produced, passed out in food lines. Then we get into the age of the 60s, free love, and everybody's doing it, and things are crazy in the country. People are outside of, we're outside of World War II, we're outside of the Great Depression. We have Social Security for widows and children. We also see a growth of divorce. And somewhere in there, somebody got their infinite wisdom that we could pay out some cash assistance programs in the way of a housing fund for single parents that were going through divorces. But at that time, in the 60s, you had to have a reason for divorce. And that reason was typically domestic violence, which is still the number one cause of divorce today. Although in the 1970s, early 1970s, no fault divorce became a thing across the nation. When no fault divorce became a thing, we saw an explosion of the destruction of the family. And as we saw that, our government said, "Oh, well, we're already feeding them. We're already giving the widows and children money. Well, we'll just go on ahead and we'll do cash assistance. We'll do housing assistance. We'll do food stamps. We don't have to do commodities anymore." Well, we'll still have commodities because we have excess food produced in our country from these wonderful companies like Kellogg's, Nabisco, um, Campbell's, etc., where we're producing all of this mass garbage food. And we've got people addicted. We've got people addicted to garbage food. We've got them eating seed oils. We've got them, we're going to eat margarine because the American Heart Association says we got to eat margarine. Now we have them on the hook for medical problems, right? Because why not? We've already been providing them money to live on, housing to live on, food to live on, but now we're going to provide them medical too. So Now you have captured the poorest of the poor in your country, and you've created an avenue for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to figure out a way to defraud the system to get money from the government.
Are you saying scam?
I'm saying that the federal government puts in all of their national parks a sign that says, do not feed the wildlife for they become dependent.
Yes, and it goes over to humans too.
Our government started this debacle in 1935.
Right.
And it has grown, and it has now become a generational poverty play to keep people impoverished. And I'll tell you, it goes even one step further. Big Pharma's done this because we have the opioid crisis. So now we've got people addicted to we've got people who are suffering a loss. They needed financial support for the widows and the children. So we get them on the hook. Now we get them on the hook. We'll get them on the hook for food too, because our country is falling apart. It's World War II, and there's lots of jobs, but there's also a lack of money. There's a lack of people to take care of children. There's a lack of housing. And things then start to get robust, and the economy comes back, because what does war do? War fuels money, right? War builds things. War requires a lot of people to work. Where's the money coming from? It's filtering from the top down and right back up. It's a slush fund, right? It's just like a little slushy machine. It's twisting itself around, but at the top is where you're going to find the good stuff. And so we get them addicted to the need of financial support. We get them addicted to the need for health care. We get them addicted to the need for childcare. Then we get them addicted to this garbage food that causes chronic inflammation and chronic pain. And we are vaccinating our children with garbage in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, especially in the 90s. It really started to blow up, and then by the turn of the century, we went from, in my childhood, I got 7 vaccines in 18 years. My children got 17 vaccines in 18 years. Today's children get 96 vaccines in 18 years. It's an unbelievable astronomical number, but we've created all these people that are sick. We've created illness. We've created it from the food. We've created it from the pharmaceutical industry. What happens there? Now we've got people addicted to pain drugs, because why? Because they're in pain. They're eating garbage that's causing chronic inflammation and chronic pain. And so we'll just give you an opioid. So how about some Percocets, some Vicodin, maybe some Dilaudid, morphine, fentanyl. I mean, let's just keep giving you drugs. So now you're living in the social service industry, because that's where you're living when you're on food stamps and housing assistance and cash
Right.
assistance and social security disability income and supplemental income. You are living in this vacuum, and we've got you addicted to these drugs. So you know what these drugs do? They keep you down, because see, if you're on these drugs, you can't get employed in a lot of places. So you have to remain dependent on the government. And they control it in every aspect of your life. But what you don't realize is that as you're addicted to all this garbage and you're addicted to the government programming, you are being you're being programmed to keep it generational, which eventually takes your life, because these people that are in that impoverished environment, they die at younger and younger ages. And it's a great play on reducing your population without you even realizing it. See, if we give your kid a vaccine and your kid develops eczema, and then from eczema down the road, they develop cellulitis as a young adult in their legs, and now they're become amputees, and they die at 35, 40 years old. They're no longer a leech on society, right? That's the mentality.
Well, I'll tell you what, a long time ago, you know, parents and grandparents, they lived to a ripe old age, and the ripe old age used to be in the 60s. And then
Correct.
it got into the 70s and the 80s. I was lucky with my parents, they were into their 90s. But you run into situations where in society, if they're having a rough time through it and they're on the welfare system, they end up dying at, in their 40s and 50s, and in
Or,
some cases their 60s,
or
and you know, yeah, or earlier. And you have some people out there that are taking certain medications that the doctors are pushing these medications, but they're not telling you about the total side effects of everything and the combinations of things, and it can cause more problems down the road.
well, it's
And
that because here's what I will say, and this is a bold statement. So I want to blame the pharmaceutical company and the medical doctors for first do no harm violations every single day of the week. However, you also blame the consumer who fails to read the insert. The television, we didn't used to have drug commercials growing up, right? Uh,
right,
Now, today, you watch a 1 hour show and you have 17 minutes average of pharmaceuticals out of 60 minutes. 17 minutes of pharmaceutical advertisements. You can listen to any one of those pharmaceutical advertisements, and they will all have some kind of adverse reaction. If you have a history of liver disease in you or an immediate family member, you should not take this vaccine. If you have a history of multiple sclerosis, you should not take this prescription drug. If you've ever had a reaction to, please tell your doctor if you've had a recent vaccine. Why? Why do we have these little basic disclaimers, and yet doctors do not sit down and say, listen, if you want to take that GLP-1, that's great, and I will be happy to prescribe it. But I need you to understand that these are the risks and these are the side effects. And since you have fatty liver disease, the risk of you developing gastroparesis is tenfold. And gastroparesis is not reversible. So I need you to understand, if I prescribe this for you to help you lose weight and manage your diabetes because you don't want to change your diet, you're not going to come back on me if this happens to you.
and
Every,
some doctors don't do that.
correct, because doctors are dictated today. They're dictated to in how they can practice. They're given a 15-minute time slot per patient. Of those 15 minutes, they have to also be able to do their clinical notes. So and that's dictated by the insurance industry as well as the pharmaceutical industry. And then the healthcare systems back it up, because the more patients they can push through at $150 or $200 a pop, the more money they make, right? So I'll give you a good example of how we push that through. So I mentioned earlier that my husband had a he became a cash cow for a hospital system. He went into the
Hmm.
emergency room because he has a horrific disease called trigeminal neuralgia, and it causes hemifacial spasms in the face. And he needed a steroid injection to stop the facial spasm in his face so that he could start to eat and drink again and be able to eventually talk, because it literally renders him unable to use his mouth. Anyway, we get in there and the doctor insists that he's having a stroke. His blood pressures are fine, but he insists he's having a stroke. So we go through stroke protocol and we get a CT scan. They then do a cardiac workup. It's got to be something. The cardiac workup shows nothing. The CT scan shows nothing. The x-rays show nothing. They finally agree to give him the steroid, IV steroid. And within 10 minutes, the facial spasm stops. and he's able to use his mouth again. And the doctor says, I just know we're having a stroke. I need an emergency MRI. And I'm like, dude, there's nothing that indicates a stroke here. Nothing at all. And he's like, listen, I'm just telling you, if you leave here, I'm saying this is against AMA. And because my husband's a veteran and we were using veteran coverage, my husband felt like he needed to stay and appease the doctor. When that doctor heard my husband say he would stay, then they sent in a respiratory therapist. And I said, what are you doing here? Well, the doctor ordered me to come in here and see your husband. We don't need a respiratory therapist. There's nothing wrong with his lungs. Everything is good. This is what we're here for. And she's like, oh, are you sure? And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, so there's no need for you to do an exam and there's no need for us to pay you here. Well, ma'am, I was already ordered and I'm here, so I will get paid. And I'm like, well, we'll see about that. So he's supposed to stay in an observation bed in the emergency room overnight and have an MRI first thing in the morning, even though it's an emergency, right? Emergencies usually constitute we're going to do it now kind of thing, but
Yeah.
the doctor's telling us it'll be a couple hours. The doctor then decided he wasn't going to keep my husband there in the emergency room. He went on ahead and put him in an ICU bed. Oh, really? What was the reason for that? Well, it was just better for him than staying in the emergency room in an observation bed. Oh, well, I'll see about that too. In the meantime, I get there in the morning. My husband has not had the MRI. He's not on the schedule. And here come in a speech therapist, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and a social worker. And I said, excuse me, but why are all of you people here? Oh, because the doctor ordered it. I said, well, you can all turn right around and go right out that door because we don't need any of your services and we're not paying you. And the social worker said, ma'am, we need to have a conversation. And I said, we sure do. And my husband is not your cash cow, and neither is the American taxpayer. And she's like, excuse me? And I said, you guys saw us coming from a mile away. My husband is a disabled American veteran. You know that you're guaranteed a paycheck out of my husband by the United States Department of Veterans Administration. And I'll be damned if you're going to cash cow him out the door. Oh, well, gosh, ma'am, what are you talking about? I said, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Each one of you professionals requires a paycheck, and this is how you get it. Not acceptable.
They stacked the bill.
They stacked the bill. The worst part of the whole experience is after my husband was released, who did get his MRI, by the way, and it showed exactly what we expected. Nothing. Well, I mean.
Well, I'll tell you what, Val. But
here's
when
what
I was,
this is no joke. After we left there, my husband received 3 separate letters in the mail. Thank you cards, really, is what they were. And each one of them thanked my husband for being a patient, and then asked my husband to send a donation in as a gratitude, showing gratitude for the exceptional care of their providers. For
I'll tell you what.
Visit that wasn't necessary. Yes, I notified the Veterans Administration, and yes, indeed, the Veterans Administration took my words seriously, and they did not pay 3 of those providers.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was in the emergency room, they ran all these tests, which was fine and dandy. And they told me, they said, well, your A1C is way too high. And they said it was 6.5. Well, 6.5 years ago was very good. And now they say it has to be below 5. So they give you all these medications. So I'm listening to all of this, and they didn't check for any C. diff. They didn't check for other things. And then I get this thing by email to my phone after I signed myself out because I'm hearing ducks the whole time. And here I am, I'm going home, I'm reading this thing, and I was somewhat dehydrated. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my God, this is crazy. They said, oh, he had a heart attack. No, I didn't. I was dehydrated and we lost Val. Oh my goodness.
I'm
Well,
here.
and,
I'm here.
oh, okay. The screen went dark.
I did. I apologize.
Well, they say when you pass away, the screen goes dark. I'm glad to see you're back among the living.
Well, and
But
I may slip out for just a second again and go dark for just another second. Sorry, but yes.
Well, we've only got about 4 minutes to go, but you can go dark if you want to go dark. But I'll tell you what, I got this thing. They said, oh, you had a myocardial infarction, or it appears. Well, I was dehydrated, and my number for troponin went up because I was dehydrated. I was under stress, but I never had a heart attack.
What was your number on your troponin?
I couldn't tell you because it was like maybe 34.
Oh, what were they worried about?
Yeah. So anyhow, I got home and I've got a watch that I wear that goes to my phone and it tells me my blood pressure, my heartbeat, and everything else. And they squatted me into the hospital to the ER and they couldn't figure out what was going on. The hospital really couldn't figure out, but they ran a bunch of tests. And by the time I got home, I was normal. I didn't have a heart issue. My blood sugar was still good. A whole bunch of crazy stuff. So, we run into a lot of stuff. But hey, Val, thanks for coming on the show.
Listen,
we're running out of time, and I have to get out of here because if I don't get out of here, we're in trouble.
You're okay.
We'll do it again, okay?
Listen, I love being on here and visiting with you. And my words to everybody that listens right now, pay attention to what's going on around you. Ask the hard questions and don't let anybody tell you that you don't have a clue. You know your body better than anybody else. And you need to be sure to read those inserts on your vaccines, on your prescription medication, and always ask the questions. Always. You're your best advocate.
You got it. Hey, gang, we're out of time. Have a good week. We'll see you in Money and Change on Sunday. It may be a rerun based on my schedule. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll post it. Anyhow, have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Val, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
Anytime. See ya.
In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network. A network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators. We are innovators. We are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.